Today is already the last day of our trip in Egypt, and we are going to know a little better the city of Cairo. Our guide has picked us up in the morning at our hotel, and we are on our way to visit the Saladin fortress and the Alabaster Mosque. Cairo is the capital of Egypt and attracts millions of tourists a year. Not only that, it is also the most popular city in the country, with more than 21 million inhabitants and the engine of its economy. It is a city that mixes hustle and bustle, smells and sounds, with chaotic traffic where horns honk incessantly and mix with calls to prayer, with sound 5 times a day. The city is usually covered by a veil of orange sand that blurs its outline. The Great Nile River splits the city in two, allowing you to cross it by boat to get a different perspective of the city. We are entering the Citadel of Saladin, one of the few medieval monuments outside the pharaohs, which still retains the gates, towers, and its high walls. It was built between 1176 and 1183 with the aim of protecting the city from the attacks of the Crusades, and where they will establish the royal residence for the next 7 centuries. Gradually, it became a city within the city, and more than 10,000 people came to live in it. Inside this fortress, we find mosques, palaces, and even museums that show key elements of military architecture and royal vehicles and objects. One of the most recognized buildings within the Citadel of Saladin is its Alabaster Mosque, known as such because of the material with which it was built, although its real name is the Mosque of Muhammad Ali and is where the sovereign is buried. Being located on a high point of the citadel, it is visible from virtually anywhere in all Cairo. The mosque was built following the model of the Ottoman mosques, a regular plan covered by a large central dome and surrounded by several semi-domes framed by 2 minarets. The architect who designed it was inspired by the Blue Mosque to build the monument. Muhammad Ali had the mosque built to honor the memory of his eldest son, Tusun, fallen in battle. A remarkable detail of the Alabaster Mosque are the 2 Ottoman-style minarets with 82 meters high each. To enter the mosque, you must take off your shoes. You can buy shoe covers at the entrance or you can carry them in your hand. In this mosque, you do not have to cover your head, but it is important to wear clothing that does not show too much of your arms or legs. The courtyard of the mosque is the evolutions area, with a fountain in the center and an alabaster arcade. One of the most striking things in this courtyard is the clock that Louis Philippe I of France gave to Egypt in exchange of the famous obelisk of the Temple of Luxor that since 1836 shines in the Place de la Concorde in Paris. As a curious fact, the Cariots claim that this clock has never come to work. From the courtyard, we move on to what for me is one of the most beautiful areas of the mosque, the prayer hall. Its gigantic lamp, composed of 365 bulbs representing the days of the year, welcomes us. This huge room stands out for its decoration with mosaics and inlaid precious stones, in addition to its wood carvings and its 100 color stained glass windows, where you can appreciate a great French influence. The pulpit is the place from where the imam recites the sermon every Friday and is built in white marble and alabaster. The marble mausoleum where Muhammad Ali's tomb is located is to the right of the mosque entrance. The central dome is 52 meters high and has a diameter of 21 meters. It is supported by 4 semi-domes and 4 small wooden domes at each corner. One of the main attractions of the Citadel are its spectacular views of the city from the heights. Depending on where you are, you can see part of modern Cairo, the Nile, and even the silhouette of the pyramids in the background. This one in front of us is the Al-Rifai Mosque, also known as the Royal Mosque for housing the remains of several members of the royal family, something uncommon in the Muslim religion buildings. It was built between 1869 and 1912 and appears in one of the Egyptian dollar bills. It has more than 1,700 square meters and is divided into 3 naves located around a dome. As I mentioned before, in the Citadel of Saladin, you can spend a good time visiting, in addition of the Alabaster Mosque, the Gawara Palace, known as the Palace of Jewels, the Military Museum where you can see objects of different eras, although its main attraction is that it was the harem of the Palace of Muhammad Ali, the Police Museum, which is located in what was the old prison of the Citadel, and the mosques of Sultan Hassan, one of the largest in the world, and Ibn Tulun, the oldest in Cairo, and where the film The Spy Who Loved Me of the James Bond saga was filmed. Our next destination is the Coptic Quarter. The Coptic Quarter extends south of the northern part of the city and can be considered the oldest part of Cairo. This area emerged a few centuries before the birth of Christ and took hold after his death. It remained so until the Arab conquest in 639 established Islam as the majority religion. The word Coptic derives from the ancient Egyptian language and is used as an appellative to designate the early Christian religion of Egypt. Despite the Arab invasion and the spread of the Islamic religion throughout the country, the Coptic Orthodox Church remained powerful and influential for many centuries and is now the second religion in Egypt. According to the Gospels, the Holy Family resided here during their exile to Egypt. It is a place considered sacred by both Jews and Christians, with numerous churches and monasteries. Coptic Cairo is largely built around the fortress of Babylon on the remains of its walls. This fortress was built by the Persians in the 6th century BC and later enlarged by the Romans, who gave it its characteristic red and white bricks appearance. Our first stop in the Coptic Quarter is the Church of Santa Maria, better known as the Hanging Church, as it was built on the ancient Roman colony of Babylon, just above the Roman fortifications, with its nave suspended over the passage of the entrance gate. Its entrance staircase is very characteristic, and its interior shows a beautiful decoration of the 13th century, using materials as varied as ebony inlaid with ivory altar or mosaics from different areas. Although the exact date of its construction is not known, there are references to it from the 3rd century AD. One of the most important parts of the interior of this temple is its marble pulpit, dating from the 13th century and has 13 pillars representing Jesus and the Apostles. Between the 19th and 11th centuries, several modifications were made to the church, leaving it with the appearance it has today. During the 14th and 15th centuries, it was known among the pilgrims as the Church of the Staircase, due to the 29 steps that must be climbed to access its interior, which allowed it to be identified by foreigners and that gives a special touch to this church. Crossing this portal, we enter fully into the Coptic quarter, and the first thing we see is a large number of books on display of different subjects and in different languages besides Arabic. All these books can be bought. It is what we could call an open-air bookstore. We are now entering one of the most important churches for the Christian religion, the Church of Saints Sergius and Bacchus. In the 4th century, when they were prominent military men of Emperor Maximian, they were executed in Syria after the authorities of the Roman Empire discovered that they were Christians. Sometime later, they were sanctified and part of their relics were transferred here, where they are still preserved. This is considered the oldest church in Cairo. It is not a church of large dimensions. Its main structure is made of red brick with beautiful wooden-covered ceilings, and the columns that separate the naves are made of stone, white marble, and red granite. Earlier, I mentioned that this is one of the most important churches for the Christian religion, and this is because, according to Christian belief, the temple is located where the Holy Family took refuge during their stay in Egypt. Just before entering the crypt, we can also see a subway well where, according to tradition, the whole family drank water. This makes this church so important for Christianity. We leave the Coptic quarter behind and enter the Khan El Khalili Bazaar, the Grand Bazaar of Cairo, which is more than 900 stalls, restaurants and cafes. Its origin dates back to 1382, where the Mamluk Sultan El Khalili decided to build a resting place for merchants. The site chosen was the ruins of an ancient Fatimid cemetery. What we see now is the El Hussein Mosque, one of the holiest Islamic sites in Cairo. It was built in 1154 and keeps within its walls the oldest copy of the Holy Quran. Also inside is the largest chandelier in the Arab world, almost 5 tons of glass and decorated with pure gold and pure silver columns. We continue our stroll through the bazaar surrounded by Cairns. The bazaar is usually open until late in the evening. In summer, most of the stalls are open until 2 a.m. This is why some of the stalls are closed right now. The only day the bazaar is not open is Friday morning, as this is when the Muslims do their weekly prayer. When the sellers see us, they try to get our attention by offering us the products they have for sale. Always remember that you have to bargain a lot before closing a price with the seller. If this does not convince you, in my next video I will tell you where you can buy souvenirs in a comfortable way and without pressure from the sellers. It is also common that if you are in a shop, the seller offers you tea. This does not force you to buy, it is a cordial gesture on their part. Strolling through these narrow streets has an almost movie-like charm. The bazaar is usually noisy, full of color and smells, and very crowded, both tourists and locals. Inside the bazaar there are many interesting sights to see, such as the original Mamluk-style architecture or its cafes. One of the most impressive is Old Fisher Way, the oldest cafe in Cairo. They say it has been open without closing for more than 200 years. Moving around the bazaar is not complicated, although it can be a bit overwhelming because of its narrowed streets and not having any idea of where you are. You can let yourself go quietly, and the moment you want to leave, just start walking in one direction and you will be out of the bazaar.